In today's video, I'll be opening up an Aetherdrift pre-release kit courtesy of Wizards of the Coast, #sponsored, alongside a collector booster of Aetherdrift 2. I'll be talking a little bit about how I built the deck at pre-release, and we'll be focusing a bit on the lore and the flavour and the themes of what's going on in Aetherdrift. If you want to go to your local pre-release, I'll put a link to the official Wizards website where you can use the store locator to find your local store to play in your official Aetherdrift pre-release. If you're not sure what a pre-release is where you open 6 packs, put a deck and play against other people who are doing the same thing, and thus it's a quite good place for newer players to learn how to play the game and play on an even playing field to others. Although obviously the game is still quite skill intensive if you ask me. We'll do the collector pack at the end, so let's get on with this. We've got the racing stripe down the side there. Ice in your veins, fire in your engines. I don't know why there'd be ice in your veins. I actually don't understand what that means. My favourite of the car factions in this are the goblins, because goblins rule, and I kind of like the Battle Bond place, the Kylum people, because they look futuristic in a way that feels like it would fit in with the rest of Magic. Not a big fan of dungarees and all that sort of stuff on the mechanics. I think they might be from Kylum as well, but a big fan of the futuristic looking stuff. We've got a dice here that you get at pre-release with a race flag on it. That's kind of neat if you're into it. The racing motif isn't personally my favourite, so race flag is not my favourite thing. But I do love the themed dice that you get in pre-release kits. I pretty much have a collection of all of them. Here's the Bloomborough one, for example, which I think was from the bundle because it's much bigger. But either way, love me a themed dice. There is a Chandra Avishkar Enhanced Racers license here, which is kind of neat. I like that. It says Enhanced Racer license, and that Omen Pass is so big. I don't know if this is meant to be used for... is this an arena code? I guess we'll find that out a bit later, won't we? And then we've got our pre-release promo card. What's it going to be? So we've got a max speed token. So if you don't know, the set's all about racing. So you have a when you get to start your engine, start your speed up, and after you do damage to your opponent once per turn, you go up in speed, and once you hit speed 4, it powers up your cards. My promo. Full throttle though. Oh baby. In foil with the fancy little bit there. Let's make sure the focus is good. I think this is going to be a pretty good card for Commander. Full throttle, 6 mana. After this main phase, there were 2 additional combat phases. I mean, if each combat this turn, untap all creatures that attack this turn. It's a powerful finisher in Limited and a very good Commander card. The art depicts Chandra with Jason Vraska's newly adopted child and Chandra's mother, who is secretly in the race, but also racing against her. And I think they partner up towards the end of the story. Okay, pack number 1. I think if I was playing this as a pre-release deck at my local store, Full Throttle would be pushing me into red here. We've got a Prowlcatcher Specialist. We'll do a bit of a zoom there so you can read. Prowlcatcher Specialist. It has haste, it's a 2/1, has Exhaust. Another one of the car themes from the set. Exhaust means that you can use the ability on it once. If you flicker it, you can reset that. I'm not sure how much flicker there is in the limited set, but it means that, for example, in this card, you pay 4 mana, you get 2 counters on it, and that's it for the first time. It's a constructed card. Grim Bauble being one of the Duskmourn house, the creepy ghosty goths. They're Bauble on the dashboard of their car. When Alpha enters, target creature opponent controls get -2/-2 until end of turn. Free tap and sack it to Surveil 2. Pretty good combat. Not combat. It's not combat at all. Good removal spell in terms of having extra upside. Howler's Heavy. It's a sea pirate. A seal pirate, sorry, not a sea pirate. That's some, he's got a big nose. Pothole Mole. When this creature enters, mill 3 cards and you may return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. Pretty reasonable 2/3 mana limited. The Initiative Surveyor starts your engines during your turn. This creature has first strike, and at max speed has a 3 mana exile card from your graveyard, draw a card. So it's got some late game utility once you get your speed up and you're going full throttle, if you will. Stall Out is a 2 mana tap target creature or vehicle, put 3 stun counters on it. Cycling being a mechanic that comes back from original Amonkhet, one of the planes that we travel through during our interplanetary race. Here in Aetherdrift, we're driving through 3 planes. So we've got Avishkar, which is the newly named Kaladesh. Hold up, it's Vince from the future here, editing Vince. I noticed during the editing of this video that I called the plane the correct name, as seen on the license earlier in the video, Avishkar, and then later on I'm calling it Avishkar, which is not the correct pronunciation. It's not too important, I guess, but I think with a new world, I didn't want to get a load of people just pronouncing it completely wrong. It's Avishkar, not Avishkar. Think of a fish car. That's how I'm trying to remember it. A fish car. average card. Anyway, on with the video. It was renamed that after the in-universe revolution and some outside the universe stuff around the name and locations and stuff like that, but I won't go into here. But it was in-universe, an actual revolution happened both in the set of Aether Revolt, and there was a second revolution between the times that we were at Aether Revolt and now too. Meaning, much like many real-world locations, they have changed their name accordingly. Silken Strength is a 2-mana flash enchant creature or vehicle. When it enters untap, that is permanent. So it's a combat trick. You have to untap your creature and block with it. In the Nixian frame, which is now the standard thing for enchantment frames in Magic, and I really like it. Tyrox Sword Tyrant is part of the cycle of vanilla legendary. So it's a 2-mana 4/1, so way over rate for 2 mana. By over rate, I mean like when you pay 4 mana for a 4/4, that's on rate. A 2-mana 4/1 is 5 points of power and toughness for 2 mana. Either way, a legendary dinosaur warrior with no abilities. It's vanilla, as we call it in the game. Amonkhet Raceway, start your engines, taps for 1 colorless, max speed, target creature hasten to end a turn. Quite a good land, if I'm honest. I quite like that. Maybe even in some commander decks. Wretched Doll is a 2-mana 3/1 that surveils as an activated ability. Gallant Strike is a 2-mana destroy target creature with greater toughness toughness 4 or greater with cycling. Powerful combat trick. Doretti is back and he's an engineer on this plane. He was originally from, oh my goodness, what is the name? Fiora. Is it Fiora? The plane for Conspiracy 1 and 2. Now, because the Omen path's opening up across Magic, he can move between planes, and here he is. Our favourite wheelchair bound goblin. Power is equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. Or power, sorry, his toughness is always 5. When it enters or attacks, choose an artifact card in your graveyard. You may sacrifice an artifact if you do return it to the battlefield. It's got a classic Goblin Welder style effect on there because he's always been a graveyard artifact kind of card. Dune Drifter in foil. This is the 2 and X, 3/3. When it enters, return target artifact or creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Quite a strong reanimation spell that leaves behind a vehicle, at least in limited. Does more backwater and a pilot token, a 1/1 that crews and mounts vehicles for 2 greater than its actual power and toughness. On the back, we've got a 2/2 zombie. And then we see a reference to the Scarab God, a statue of him. They're driving around. Let's put my rares there. Getting a Full Throttle and a Doretti in the set that's about vehicles is pretty good start for my steel pool in terms of like rares and such. This is of course the kart racing set of Magic. Lightning Strike, didn't know that was in the set. Sweet. Siphon Fuel. Target creatures -6/-6 until end of turn, you gain 2 life. Skystreak Engineer. Alcarnian Jaguar. The Brightfield Glider. It's a giant possum. I can't remember the world. What's the name of the world these guys are from? They come from Alacria. I hadn't looked that up. The Alacrian Quick Beasts, where their creatures are just bigger and just like the Aether powers them up and makes them much larger than normal creatures. Whenever this creature attacks while saddled, it gets +1/+2 and gains flying to end of turn. Sweet. Crash and Burn to target vehicle. Crash and Burn does 6 damage to target creature or planeswalker. A lot of 6s knocking about there. Ticket Tortoise, 2-mana 3/1. Defender, when this creature enters, if an opponent controls more lands than you, create a treasure. Oh, it's pretty good on the draw, because your opponent plays like their 3rd land on turn 3, you untap, play this, and play your land. You've got 2 mana, you can even double spell. Transit Mage, this is completing the cycle of 3-mana 2/2 wizards that search for certain CMCs. In this case, it's 4 and 5. Most importantly, this is going to grab a Panharmonicon, which is kind of flavorful. It looks like Transit Mage is actually from Duskmourn, as part of Winter's sort of team, with a little ghost ghoul thing there in the car in the background. But it can grab a Panharmonicon, which was originally in Kaladesh. I was correct, it was originally in Kaladesh. So it's kind of a cool little way of flavouring away that the Transit Mage coming from Duskmourn can go and grab things from other planes that they're driving through. And of course, there are many 4-mana artifacts in all of Magic. The One Ring, for example, so you can also grab them from Lord of the Rings. But let's be honest, when you see this card, you're thinking of Panharmonicon, you're going to grab Panharmonicon, you're going to flicker this and get 2 more triggers. That's what we're all doing. Don't lie to me. We all know what you're up to. Broodheart Engineer, a 2-mana, beginning of the upkeep's Veil 1, 4-mana and tap, sack this artifact, return target creature or vehicle from your graveyard to the battlefield, activating as sorcery. Reasonable. Tune up, 4-mana, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If it's a vehicle, it becomes an artifact creature. Reasonable. Detention Chariot, 6-mana, 6/6, crew 3, cycling 1. When this creature enters, exile target artifact or creature your opponent controls until this vehicle leaves. It's an Oblivion Ring strapped to a 6/6 creature. That's also a vehicle. Super interesting in the sense that, like, normally the Oblivion Ring effects are on 3 or even 4 mana. To see on a 6-mana vehicle as a 6/6 is quite unique. The fact that it's got cycling makes it very playable. I quite like this card. I also like this art. I do like this art style. The very contrasting, I think it's graffiti art they've called it. Quag Feast. That was my nickname in high school. 2 mana,
choose target creature, planeswalker, or vehicle, mill 2 cards, and destroy the chosen permanent if its mana value is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. This is a very, very strong removal spell because you will obviously the mill helps enable it a little bit, but you'll always know if your graveyard's got like 10 cards already, you can kill a 10 mana value or less creature or planeswalker or vehicle. Importantly, it is sorcery speed, so in terms of like playing it in Commander or other constructed formats, it may not be as strong as I'm first saying. A Transit Mage in foil, island, and a Start Your Engines token that has max speed on the back, and then it has the build up here with all of the different race team leaders, all 10 of them dotted around. Is it 10 of them? Two color pairs? Yeah, 10 of them. Right, next pack. Someone asked me in my Innistrad Remastered opening video, why do I talk so much? Why not just show the cards quickly? That's because that's what I do in these videos. If you're watching it thinking he talks too much, you're giving opinions about playability, or talking about where they fit within Magic's like actual like illustrious lore and canon, I think you might have come to the wrong video. Broadcast Rambler. Clamorous Ironclad, a Wreckage Wicker Folk. What is this? 2 mana, 1/3 flying when enters Surveil 2. A lot of Surveil in this set. A lot of graveyard synergies with the reanimation spells too. Bounce off, 1 mana returns a creature or vehicle to its owner's hand, instant speed. So strictly better on summon, I guess, because you can even bounce vehicles that aren't currently crewed. Loxodon Surveyor, 3 mana, 3/3 start. Your engine's max speed, exile this card to draw a card. So this might be in a cycle, or at least for the color pairing of green-white, as we've seen already. Interface Ace, 2 mana, 0/4. It mounts and crews vehicles using its toughness rather than its power. When this creature becomes tapped during your turn, you can untap it. This ability triggers only once each turn, so it can double crew a vehicle or crew 2 vehicles, for example. Bestow Greatness to Corgi into a +4/+4 trample. Pretty strong limited card there. Spire Mech Cycle, 6 mana, 5/4 haste, crew 2, exhaust. Tap another untapped mount or vehicle you control. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature and put a counter on it. For each mount or vehicle you control other than this vehicle. Ooh, baby. That can get pretty big in limited. Again, strong limited card. Locust Spray, -1/-1 to end a turn, and it cycles. Reasonable. This is the vanilla blue card, a 2 mana 0/8 Caledona Coral Tyrant is an octopus. I wish it was an octopus noble. It's a tyrant, right? It's a king or a queen. I think it should have the noble card. Make it fit into the text box. Embalmed Descendant, 3 mana 1/2 zombie. Start your engines. When this creature enters, create a 2 black zombie creature token. Max speed, whenever creature you control die, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So it's like a ETB make a zombie, it turns on the engine mechanic, and then when it's fully powered up, it's a Blood Artist, but only for creatures that you control, and it doesn't hit each opponent as opposed to target opponent. Pretty playable in the new zombie commander deck. We've got, is it Tamaret? What's his bloody name? Temet Nakatun's Will, and of course Hashaton Scarab's Fist as well. Both commanders from the new commander deck that I'm pretty excited to build. I think I'm going to build both that and the Sahili one. The problem with commander is that having to go around the table like 4 times is quite slow, and you have to connect to do it as well. You can't, if you have no speed, it starts at 1, increases once each turn when your opponent loses life, max speed 4. You can't increase it by starting your engine multiple times, sadly. But that's how it is. Howl Squad Heavy, a 3 mana Goblin Mercenary, 2/3. Start your engines. Other goblins have haste. You can have combat in your turn. Create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. That token attacks this combat if able. Okay, so it's a Rabble Master, a 2/3 Rabble Master for 3 mana. Max speed. It taps already equal to each goblin you control. Oh boy, that is a powerful goblin. The upside at the end, you need to like connect a few times to get there. But I mean, starting your engines, giving all your goblins haste, and then creating a 1/1 every single turn that has to attack, particularly this turn if able, but not in future combats if it survives, is pretty good. This is quite a strong Rabble Master variant. Rocketeer Boost Buggy, the 2 mana green, red, 3/2, whenever it attacks, create a treasure token. Exhaust 3, this vehicle becomes an artifact creature, put +1/+1 count on it. The exhaust abilities that turn it into a creature are pretty strong, because it means that you can curve out with these in-between playing creatures and still get value out of them to combat with. And I got a Jungle Hollow and a Thopter token. We are heavily in red, I think, here in our constructed deck. I mean, you shouldn't always look at your rares, but it helps. Chandra Spark Hunter Emblem. Whenever an artifact you control enters, it deals 3 damage to any target. It's pretty sweet. Okay, let's get through these commons and uncommons a bit more. Risky Shortcut. Hull Drifter. Okay, this is one of my favorite uncommons from the set. I think that, so Mold Drifter is a 2/2 flying 5 mana creature that had Evoke 3, and when it enters the battlefield you draw 2. Evoke being you can cast it for 3 and it dies as opposed to sticking around. Classic, absolutely wonderful card to flicker. I love playing Mold Drifter. I still play in Commander decks to this day. Hull Drifter, although not that doesn't have the Evoke cost, so it's less playable in that sense, is a 5 mana 3/2 flyer, which Mold Drifter was 2, that enters the battlefield and draws 2 cards and has crew 3. So this is a reference to Mold Drifter called Hull Drifter, because obviously it's got a hull because it's a vehicle, and ultimately, we have a lot of complaints in the current climate about Magic making references to other things and whether they fit and whether they don't fit and yada, yada, yada. What I do love to see in amongst that is a reverence and a respect for its own legacy, its own canon, its own, I guess legacy is the right way to put it, even though it is a format name. So like recently in a video, Spice 8 Back did this point about brushwags and how they were originally like a community meme, and then the company went on to do it, and it feels like a company going on to take the memes and sell them back to us and such. But if I'm completely honest, I quite like that. I like that designers who grew up on Magic are now working at Wizards and making the jokes or references that they were doing when they were part of the community now that they're there. I think that's a positive thing for the most part. Gibberick Omnivore, Dynamite Diver, 1/1, 1/1, creature settles mounts cruise vehicles for 2 extra. When it dies, deals 1 damage. Okay, pretty standard Goblin fare. Avishkar Raceway, start your engines, taps for 1, 3, max speed, tap, discard card, draw card. Okay, reasonable. Push the limit. 7 mana uncommon. Return all mountain vehicle cards from your grave to the battlefield, sacrificing at the beginning of the next end step. Vehicles you control become artifact creatures until end of turn. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. Jeez. Okay, this is a finisher for like surveilling all that stuff into the graveyard. We'll put it on red-black, and you try and just put as many vehicles into play off this as possible and kill your opponent. Wickerfolk Indomitable. Earth Rumbler, 5 mana, 7/6 Vigilant, Trampling. Exile an artifact or creature card from your graveyard, becomes an artifact or creature until end of turn, so you have to crew it. Again, more graveyard synergy. Web Striker Elite, big fan of this. Insect Archer, 2 mana, 2 green, 3/3 Reach. Has cycling, green, X. When you cycle this card, drop to 1 target artifact or enchantment with mana value X. Very strong cycler. We've got a second copy of Duretti, this time inside his like racing wheelchair with a heated up wrench. Pretty sweet though. We've got double Durettis, that's probably our constructed deck. Ooh, maybe in red-green. Redshift Rocketeer Chief, the leader of the Goblin race team, if you will. Red, green, 2/3 Vigilant. Taps add X mana of any color where X is Red's power. Spend this mana only to activate abilities. Exhaust, 12 mana. Put any number of permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Wowza. Big fan of that. What a stacked pack that was. And we get the vehicle token here, which is Chandra approaching the bike. Like that famous scene from that anime. I quite like it. I mean, we've got the other anime slide in here as well in the set, but I quite like that reference. Aetherdrift pack number 5. What do we got? Gonna go through the commons. Legendary mechanic. That's what I mentioned earlier about how I really like the look of the Cloudspire race team from so the plane, the Battleborn plane. Oh, blanking now. But I'm not a big fan of the overalls here. This feels a little bit out of character. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Spectre Interference, Spell Pierce. What a wonderful magic card that is. Classic reprint. Haunted Hellride. 3 mana, 3/3 whenever you attack. Whenever you attack, so any creature you control attacks, target creature you control gets +1/+0 into it, and death touch into end of turn, untap it, and crew 1. Roadside Assistance, 3 mana, enchant target creature or vehicle. When this aura enters, create a 1/1 colorless pilot token. That's a token that makes crews for 2 higher than it is. Enchantment has +1/+1 and has lifelink. Reasonable enchantment. During a turn, as long as you haven't activated an exhaust ability this turn, you may activate exhaust abilities as though they haven't been activated. Whoo, okay. 3 mana, 2/3 that has an exhaust ability to put a count on this creature as well. That does seem to get you every turn you can activate an exhaust ability again, but not multiple exhaust abilities. That does seem like a really good enabler, even moving outside of limited into like Commander. If exhaust becomes like an evergreen mechanic, which it probably will in other sets in the future, because it's quite a solid way of denoting you can only use this once, this card may start to be a uncommon that sees play in different Commander decks. Repurposing Bay, 3 mana, and it's got 2 mana tap, sacrifice another artifact, switch over for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1, plus the sacrificed artifact's mana value, put that card on the battlefield, then shuffle, activate only as a sorcery, and we see a Vishkanarian, like, repurposing bay, I guess, a mechanics bay, as they work on one of the hot rods from that plane. By the end of the race, few of the Aether Rangers vehicles resembled what they started as. The Aether Rangers being the race team from Avishkanar that Chandra joins the Cloud Spires, doesn't she? Yeah, she joins Cloud Spires, and the Aether Rangers are being led up by, secretly, Chandra's mum, Pia. This is like a birthing pod style effect, that mana value +1. I'm going to play this absolutely in Iron Man. That's right, moving out of Magic Cannon, this guy's going straight in my Iron Man deck. A Thunderhead Gunner in foil, a mountain, and a speed token. Our last pack is going to be Lightning Strike, Siphon Fuel. We saw those are the 2 cards in the last pack, didn't we? Flop the Engine, 3 mana, enchant artifact, creature and vehicle. When it enters, tap that permanent. Enchantment loses all abilities and doesn't untap. So it's like a claustrophobia style effect. Big fan of these unlimited. Sport, Cycle, Scouters. This is the futuristic like Cloud Spire guys that I quite like. When this vehicle enters, scry 2, and then it's got crew 1, 2 mana, 3/2. They've got a vibe that's akin to another anime, not Akira, but something else. was trying to think of what it is. I'm not very anime pilled, as you might have noticed. Wreck Remover, 4 mana, 3/4. When the creature enters or attacks, it comes to 1 target card from a graveyard, gain 1 life. It's a cleanup crew, and it's got cycling. Strong, solid card. Death Touching, 1 mana, 1/1 rat that has 6 mana, each opponent loses 2 life. Absolutely incredible late game finisher for limited. That's also a very good blocker. So this is actually a solid card in limited. Cloudspire, Sky Cycle, the literal cycle we just talked about. Flying. When it enters, distribute one counters among any 1 or 2 other target vehicles and or creatures you control, which includes this, right? Other. No, it can't include itself. So you need other good things in play for it to be good. Momentum Breaker. Start your engines. When it enters, each opponent sacrifices a creature or vehicle of its choice. Each opponent who can't discards a card. 2 mana, sacrifice, you gain life equal to your speed. This card enables speed. It's an edict. It's sorcery speed, of course, which is fine. Helps get around like ward and stuff in the current environment. This thing is going to be pretty sweet and standard in the Esper like flicker deck that can flicker and reset enchantments. Big fan of this. I'll be playing that. I like Pathmaker, the 6 mana, 6/5 Vigilance Crew 2. When it enters, you may search your library for an artifact card and reveal it and put it onto the battlefield if its mana value is 2 or less. Otherwise, put it in your hand. A very strong ability. I can see myself flickering that even in Commander. It's any artifact. No, it's any artifact. Wow. That's quite unusual for any TB creature to find any artifact. I guess technically it's not a creature, right? It's an artifact itself. I think that's actually quite a strong effect. You can put Solving straight into play. Oh, Ashnod's Altar? No, Ashnod's Altar is 3 mana, isn't it? Fang Guardian. Captain Howler. Sea Scourge. Ward 2 and pay 2 life. It's 2 mana and 2 life. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, target creature is +2/+0 into end of turn. For each card discarded this way, whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, draw a card. This is very, very strong. So you can cycle 2 cards and get +1/+0, and then it's 2 separate instances when the creature connects, you have to draw 2 cards. Wowza. Very, very strong. Very, very strong. Pax Dol Terror. Swift Water Cliffs to go with our Shark Pirate. Our first art card, which is District Mascot. It's the mascot the green-blue or the green-white team bring with them. It's the one that's on the enlarged art as well. I think I'm definitely in red because of like Double Duretti, House Squad Heavy, and the Full Throttle. Redshift Rocketeer makes me want to play green, but I'm also, I can't really splash this rare. Double green means it's not really splashable. By splashable, I mean, I say splash. It's in my 2-color deck. It might be difficult to cast. It's probably perfectly fine. I can't splash it and play green as my off color, but I can splash a single black pip, which means playing some sort of mana rock or thing that makes black mana. That said, none of my cards do that. I don't think. I've opened a single mana rock. Oh, double Lightning Strike. This pool couldn't be more in red if it tried. I absolutely play red as my first color. And whilst my red cards are strong, there's actually not a huge abundance of them, right? Double Lightning Strike, these 4 rares, couple of goblins, maybe 2 mana 4 one's not really that hot. Either way, so I need a second colour, which is normal and limited, and I think I'd be in green. My green feels pretty deep. The card that allows me to exhaust again, 2 mana 2/1 Death Toucher, a 4 mana 4/2 with Flash. When it enters, another creature gets pumped or vehicle gets pumped. There's a lot of reasonable green cards in my pool too. I'm absolutely in green-red for this limited deck. Like, I'm absolutely playing this 7/6 for 5, crew 3, but forget the crew. Exile an artifact or creature card from your graveyard, and it becomes an artifact creature into end of turn. So as long as I've got, like, creatures and artifacts on my bin, which I will, I mean, there's not that much Surveil in these, and more in black, but I will. I can power the 7/6 up and just trample over their board state. Like, yeah, that's a pretty sick uncommon, if I'm honest. Yeah, I've looked again. I'm 100% in red-green. Lastly then, I've got a collector booster for a short that'll be up on the channel soon as well. And today we're going to put one collector booster. This will not be my limited pool. You don't get one of these at pre-release. This is an extra added goodie sent to me by Wizards of the Coast. # free preview, # sponsored. And let's have a look what we got. Is the rare in the back? The rare is in the front. So we've got Pilot Token on the front. We'll have a look at that in a second. Foil Engine Rat. Okay. Foil Collision Course. Foil Night Market. Foil Veloheart Bike. Foil Amonkhet Raceway. Gastel Thrillseeker, 2 mana 2/3, start your engines. When creature enters, deal 1 damage to target opponent. When this creature enters, oh, okay, it's not as good as I thought. It's fine. Broadside Barrage, does 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker, draw a card, then discard a card for 3 mana. That's really good, in limited at least. A very sexy swamp. So you know about these. There are first-person racing lands. So in this case, we're in one of the cockpits of the Insectoid green-black, not guild, but racing team. And one of the really interesting parts about this, because there is some cool stuff beneath the racing motif, is that the green-black insect team are hiding what plane they're from. and we don't know why, and that's not been shown or revealed yet. It might be a mystery for some time. I'm assuming it's going to be something that's revealed later down the line in like this space opera set where we find out they're from some sort of intergalactic empire of insect creatures or something. We'll see. I particularly like this dragster with the lightning shooting out of it in foil here. Not my favourite of these lands, but I do like the first-person lands. The other thing about these first-person lands is that full art lands have been pretty normal now for quite some time, right? It was Battle for Zendikar when they went like to the norm, we just couldn't stop having them. And people complain that once you have something all the time, it's no longer special, and I agree. Having a full art land that just depicts the biomes of the plains is cool and everything. Let's create the lands to do that. But I think recently they've started to explore using the full art land treatment or full art land space or frame or tool to explore new and interesting ways of perceiving both magic and other intellectual properties worlds through magic. So in this case, we've got a first-person racing land. In the Fallout set, for example, we had isometric lands that look like the classic games, as well as third-person stuff that look like Fallout 4, for example. Although Fallout 4 was first-person, but you can play it in third-person, some people do. Either way, I just like that. I really like that. The maps from Lord of the Rings is another great example of utilising this full artness. I guess the Impossible lands from Karlov Manor are one of my favourite things about Karlov Manor. Anyway, there you go. Full art lands. They're kind of cool. Or cooler than they used to be. Cloud Spire Sky Cycle in the graffiti art. I prefer the normal art to that one. A foil Dune Drifter in graffiti art. When this vehicle enters, return target alpha. Oh, it's the X-Spell. It's the X-Spell. We all looked at that. We've got a Debris Beetle. 4 mana, 6/6, trample, ETB. To opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Crew 2. Oh my goodness, that is a Siege Rhino, but it's also a 6/6. I did see this in the spoilers yesterday. Some of the cards aren't revealed at time of recording, but I saw this yesterday. Yeah. Pretty wild how far we've come from the traditional Siege Rhino. I guess having to crew is a thing, but yeah. Priest of Crossing from the commander deck. 4 mana, 3/3 flying. At the beginning of each end step, put a X plus some counters on each creature you control. Each creature you control, or X number of creatures that died under your control this turn. This card is actually rather cracked if you do some sort of sack outlet nonsense with a Gravecrawler, for example, in the zombie deck. This is a zombie bird cleric. You can get your team to be huge. Willow Rush Verge is the continuation of the Verge cycle that started in Dustmourn and being finished here with a pretty cool art. It shows an Omen path opening up onto the streets of Avishkanar, I want to say. Yeah, Avishkanar. Whoa, baby. Okay. Got a video that I haven't finished making about this. This card is bonkers. Long story short, 6 mana, splashy mythic. Good for Commander. It says tap it, sacrifice 1 or more artifacts, choose a colour, target player adds 3 mana of the chosen colour of each artifact sacrificed this way. So in essence, you play it on turn 5 or 6 when your board is full of Mind Stones, Soul Rings, treasures, clues, and all that nonsense. Tap it, sack a load of events, make 1,000,000 mana. It's not a mana ability because it's targets, you can copy it, it's a ludicrous magic card. Big hit. Foil Chrome Mox. Holy shit, yeah. Okay, I play Chrome Mox on a lot of decks. I played 4 of it in Legacy, in the Mono Red Prison deck. Opening a foil one is pretty sick. I've got it in at least 1 commander deck because I'm that guy. Oh my goodness. This is the special guest slot, by the way, which is cards that aren't in the main set. And then it's cards in the special guest slot have themings to look like things from within the set. So I think here, this looks like the hood ornament of one of Winter's Duskmorny Goth Kid cards. Farron Gibrar's award-winning invention from the Inventors Fair, now available for the general public. Oh, okay. Another interesting deep cut. The Inventors Fair was a thing happening during the original Kaladesh block into Eighth Revolt, and there were masterpiece inventions which were like showed off that I think were meant to be like the crowning achievements of the Inventors Fair. Oh, it's a cool treasure token, no? It's not an Outlaw Junction symbol. I don't know what that symbol is. It looks like Outlaw Junction. Oh, I don't know. Anyway. And Chrome Mox was in there. So I guess this is like signifying that the technological advancements mean that Chrome Mox are no longer the height of technological achievement, and instead they're for general public consumption. Sick. I guess I'm never beating the accusation that these packs are seeded. I still don't believe that's true, but that's a pretty hot hit. Thanks for joining me as we had a little look through some Aetherdrift stuff. If you do want to go to pre-release, don't forget there'll be a link in the description below to find your local store and get down there. I really recommend pre-releases. They are one of my favourite types of Magic events simply because it pulls everyone down to an even keel. You aren't losing to someone else who's just got a much better deck than you and more time to invest in building that deck over the years of collecting. You are going in from a fresh slate and you and your opponents are all just there with whatever knowledge you've got of the set during preview time like this to build a deck. And because the competitive level of pre-release is so not low, that's the wrong way of putting it, because it's not like this highly competitive event. It's very casual, sort of focused. People will converse and talk during deck construction. People will give you advice after games. So even if you think you'll struggle and your decks won't be very good, if you go to a pre-release, I can guarantee people like myself will be more than happy to help you learn about Magic and play Magic, because that's what pre-release is all about. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.